Hey there, my name is Shane Craddock, and this is the Inner Edge podcast, where I share a different take on how to lead and live a sustainable, high-performance life. Over the course of different episodes, I'm going to challenge the belief that tension, stress, and struggle are essential to success and creativity. My experience is that there's an easier way, there's a better way, and indeed there's an essential way that we need to explore for the times that we live in. So let's go ahead, let's jump in and explore. Hello there, you're very welcome. When I'm recording this, it is the new year. It is, I suppose, a time for change, a time hopefully for thinking about new horizons. And regardless, though, of when this message is being recorded or sent out, I think the message today is timeless. Because really it's about being open to the possibilities, the incredible possibilities that are in your life. No matter what your mind is saying, no matter how far you've gone or how far you think you haven't gone. And I just want to explore that a little bit today with you, because being open to possibilities from my perspective is a sign of a healthy mindset, because ultimately that kind of openness to possibilities is wired into us. It's what makes us really human. Now, our minds can get in the way of that. And I think a very simple but universal example to show this possibility mindset is children. You know, kids up to a certain age are open to imagining absolutely anything. You know, I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to be a billionaire. I'm going to invent something. I'm going to create something. It's just, their minds are completely open. Anything is possible. But somewhere along the way, for most adults, that kind of seems to disappear. But like what happens to us? And I think I've recognized that in myself. I see it in other people. I see it in clients. But it's what I will say to you, the good news is that you're able to counteract it, to avoid it, to change it. And as you do that and put effort into that, incredible things, in some cases almost miracles, can happen in your life. Just possibilities for reinvention, for a new change, for exploring your horizons, personal, professional. I love that quote by the artist Picasso. It goes something along the lines of, when I grow up, I want to be a child. Beautiful. Again, just showing the openness. And of course, there's a famous bio, I think, in the Bible, who says, be like little children. I think, from my perspective, that's what he was referring to, was to have this openness of mind. And see, as you go along with each year of your life, the danger is, if you're not careful, is that you can accumulate gunk on yourself without realizing it. Things can happen. As I've said many times to clients and in this podcast, life is a full contact sport. You're going to get hit, you're going to get hurt, you're going to get knocked down. The challenge for us is to get up and also make sure that the gunk doesn't stick, that it doesn't taint or filter on life, which for most people it can, understandably. But once you start to understand how your inner world works, then you can leverage it. I like to think about it like, even this time of the year, every year, being like a snake, where you can shed your skin. And the shedding the skin, to me, is shedding the old mindsets, getting rid of the mindsets from the past, because those mindsets aren't going to serve my evolution. They're not going to serve the higher version of me. But so many stories with clients over the last 20 years where they would have been, I suppose, frustrated because they wanted to be anywhere other than where they were. There was some element of what they were doing in their work, or maybe their personal lives, where they just plain hated it. But the real problem was that they'd stopped believing that change was possible. You know, and that can be hard to admit. I've been there myself. In the previous episode of this podcast, I'd interviewed what I call the Merchant of Hope, Manfred Ketz de Vries, a very distinguished professor of leadership at the INSEAD in Paris, and he was talking about the importance of hope and how, as leaders and as people, part of our jobs, our role is to be a merchant of hope. It's very hard to be a merchant of hope when you don't have it yourself, when hope has left the room. And so it's a daily activity to kind of make sure that the gunk of business, the gunk of the punches, the hits you get in life, don't stick. That's hard, but it is possible. So what works? I mean, I'll give you a 3-point little plan here. for simplicity, very simple, so I'm not going to go into the detail of this, but one is point yourself in the direction that you want to go. If you had no fear, if you were braver, what would you imagine? Can you point yourself in that direction without necessarily knowing all the steps? That's the start. So point yourself in the direction you want to go is number one. Number two is then obviously take action and keep looking in that direction. Don't get distracted. Don't get put off. Most people, unfortunately, do. And a lot of the time, it's not necessarily to do with what's happening. It's what's to do with what's happening inside them, what their inner voice is saying to themselves. And then point number three is take care of yourself on the journey. Now, take care of yourself is a phrase that's been bandied around a lot, I think. And I think it means different things to different people. But ultimately, to me, it means looking after your state, clearing the inner pipes, making sure no gunk sticks, making sure your energy is very, very good, and that mentally you're sharp, you're fit. That's taking care of yourself. Because there is an opportunity for reinvention available to you as you're listening to this. It's available to you every day, every week, every month. You might have a persona or a brand in a certain area, perhaps. Thinking, I wish I could kind of go over and do something over here. You can. The issue very much is your mindset. Now, I remember one period of my life where I was incredibly frustrated in a business context. On the outside, everything looked fine. People would have said, oh my God, it's great. Now you're doing this, that, and the other. But the problem was inside, I wasn't happy because it wasn't me. And at my core, I was afraid to make a change. I doubted myself. I ultimately, looking back, had shut off possibilities. I didn't realize I was doing that though. In my mind, it was like, oh, this is the situation. I can't really do that, this, that, and the other. But ultimately, I had shut off the mindset of possibilities. But luckily, with a little bit that I know, gradually I started able to make some changes, change my mindset. And over the years, so much has happened that right now I'm very happy to be able to say that my life is fantastic. The work that I do, the people that I work with, ultimately my family, the health, the life that's been created around me. And it's not to say when I'm saying it's fantastic, it doesn't mean that I don't have challenges. I do. I get tested all the time because that's life. That's part of the game of life. But in terms of, if you had said to me 20 years ago, wow, could you have this kind of work? Could you have this kind of life? I would have said, wow, that'd be amazing. But I think it comes down to just a continuous inner house cleaning on making sure that the gunk doesn't shut off the natural inbuilt possibility mechanism within you, within me. Now, many clients that I've had over the years have said something like this to me. Shane, I didn't realize that I'd actually shut myself off from possibilities. But when I changed my mindset, I couldn't get over how many opportunities were right in front of me that I hadn't seen. And that's maybe a little challenge I'm going to give to you today as you're listening to this. Because to be honest with yourself, actually, hold on a second here. Before I get into those questions, here's something. I meant to say it at the start and I forgot, to be honest with you. But to help maybe with expanding your mind around possibilities, I'm going to give you a gift. It's to be available in the show notes if you haven't accessed it already. If you're on my mailing list, you will have seen it come into your inbox already. It's what I'm now calling my True Success Planner. Why True Success? Because I suppose really I'm seeking to help people create meaningful success, true success, where you're authentic to yourself, your values, your sense of purpose. But it's really up to you, to each one of us, to define what our definition of success is, because it is different for everybody and it evolves. So anyway, every year for the last, I don't know now, I think it's 12 years, maybe 13, I've shared a kind of set of questions and evolved into a workbook last year. And this year it's called the True Success Planner, 23 questions for a great 2023. We've designed it. We've created space for writing down some answers. There's some great questions there. The questions I've tweaked a little bit this year. One or two have changed. We've added a new one for 23 questions. It usually gets a very good reaction. A lot of people really, really find it very useful to help get some clarity on the year ahead. So it's there available to you. It's free for a limited period. We usually leave it up until probably towards the end of January. So please do get it if you're interested. It's in the show notes. Just click on the link and it'll take you to the page. You can just register and get the downloadable workbook PDF. And it should help with your possibilities. So back to the questions. Can you be honest with yourself? Where perhaps have you shut off the potential for possibilities? And before you go, oh no, I'm Mr. or Miss Possibilities, I would challenge that. I know very few people that have not shut off the possibilities in some area of their life because they go, well, that's because of this, that's because of that. That to me is probably shutting off possibilities. So maybe think about it like this. Which area of your life would you like to see the most change? Which area of your life would you love to reinvent if you had a magic wand? Think about an area that's an answer to those questions. And then think about this. What's your inner narrator, your inner voice saying to you about it? And what if that isn't true? Usually it isn't, by the way. So my challenge to you is to perhaps stop looking at what's in front of you and start looking at what's inside yourself. I'm going to close out with a little quote here from Albert Einstein. There are only two ways to live your life. One is though nothing is a miracle, and the other is though everything is a miracle. Wise words. And again, that to me talks to that sense of possibilities, because having a mindset that's open to possibilities ultimately opens the door to those possibilities. Food for thought. Ciao.